Hello, Sir Ganja Killer here, and they're releasing Bretonnia, finally. It's going to be February next year, so get pumped for that, and it's going to be a free LC. I nearly had some kind of autism meltdown when I read this, because it says, Total War Warhammer is in line for a physical-only Old World edition due in February next year. So I thought it was going to be, it was some kind of like collector's item kind of thing where you had to buy the actual CD and it was going to be like whoa, it's the Old World edition and you get like a fucking drinking horn or something with it that you don't actually want. But no, they're not doing that, which is good because that would have been very cancerous milking tactics there. But no, that's actually not happening. If you already own the digital version, then you're just going to get a free LC on the date of the release, which is awesome. So that will allow you to play Bretonnia in the campaign, and they're going to add loads of new units and stuff to it. There's going to be 3 legendary lords once they're playable, which includes, of course, King Lewin. But they're adding Alberic of Bordello, who I don't know anything about, I have to look him up, and the Fay Enchantress, who is the, like head of the Church of the Lady of the Lake, I guess. She's kind of like the spokesperson, or whatever. She's like the Pope, I guess, or something. But she'll be like a powered up version of the Damsel unit, which is like their wizard unit. With the Lore of Heaven, I guess, or maybe they'll give her some other lore as well. Also, we can see the Green Knight on the front, so looks like they're promising some kind of appearance from the Green Knight. That picture should be on the screen right now. So I guess it's going to be some kind of extra effect in the campaign or something, like once you do a quest battle, the Green Knight comes out and he's like your new, you have him as a lord, or maybe he helps you for a certain amount of battles, or something like that. I'll do a lore video on the Green Knight, how about that? That's coming out soon. Also, I'm going to be covering this other guy, what's his name? Alberic of Bordello, because I don't know about him, so I might as well learn about him and make a video about it while I'm doing it. So there you go. Anyway, for the rest of this I'm going to be going through the other units that we can infer, well, not even infer, we're pretty sure, we're inferring it, but if they're putting them in the pictures, we can be pretty sure that they're adding it, let's be honest. They're aware of everything they're leaking right now, they know what they're doing. They know they're just tickling your gooch to get you ready to fuck the game up. So, yeah, I'll go through them now. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. This is just some dead dude. Like, what's the significance of this, Will? Like, what are you talking about? Actually, there's a big significance to this, because this is a Grail Knight. It's not just any old dead dude. This is a Grail Knight. A knight who has gone on quests to earn the favour of the lady, and then been blessed by the lady and drank from the Holy Grail in order to become super powerful. Get that ward save and all that, which makes you super tanky and just a general beast, basically. So, they gain this blessing, they become magical warriors, and they become incredibly elite. But, of course, they can still die, so this guy's fucking dead. But anyway, what's this weird contraption that they've got him sitting on and stuff? Well, peasants, and like just kind of fanatics of the Lady of the Lake, will dress the knights up like this, even when they're dead, in order to gain some kind of protection and basically magical buffs. As the holy chosen of the Lady of the Lake, Grail Knights are often fanatically protected by battle pilgrims, which is another unit we're probably going to be seeing here, as you'll see later on. This protection doesn't stop even when the knight himself dies, as in this case, this immensely powerful body becomes a Grail relae, a holy artifact used as a weapon in its own right. Still in all its war gear, the knight's body is seated on the shoulders of the battle pilgrims, who seek to fulfill the role of his horse. So you see this bar thing that is sitting on. All these crazy peasants, who are the battle pilgrims, who are like, they're religious fanatics basically. They're kind of like flagellants, and they'll basically hold up this bar on their shoulders and then walk him into the battle as if he's riding into battle, and fight to the death around him, basically. This goes to the extent of the front pilgrim carrying the blessed skull of the knight's former steed. It's pretty funny. Another 6 pilgrims surround the reliquae, all there to protect it with their lives. This devotion doesn't go unrewarded, for such is the power of a Grail Knight that the pilgrims are protected by his presence even in death, receiving a blessing from the lady herself and empowering any who stand near such a sacred artifact. So this is going to be like if you ever played Rome Total War 2 and you can get a relic that's a piece of the true cross and it has like a guard of elite spearmen or something around it, and you wheel it along and it's like that's a kind of an example from history basically of the same thing, where it's like everyone thinks it's a relic, although this is more of a placebo thing rather than actual magic, but everyone thinks it's a relic, everyone thinks it's a piece of the true cross and that it's God is on their side because they have it, so everyone fights harder because it's there. Well, this is actually like magic making everyone fight harder. So this is going to be a kind of AoE buffing thing that you're going to have in the middle of your infantry line, and it's going to buff up your infantry and make your admittedly rather shit peasants pretty decent in a stand-up fight, and at least make them hold for a lot longer than they would be. So in this picture I'm about to put up, you can see that in the battle, you can see they've actually made a unit of it. It's not just pictures they've put up for lore. If you see right in the background there, just behind that guy's head, the Bretonnian paladin in the foreground. Just behind that guy's head there's that raggedy peasant guy with the sword, but then above his head you can see this guy slumped over, and the candles coming out of the shield on his back. You can see that, right? And just behind him you can see some peasant looking guy holding up a bar. What's that bar? Or beam rather. And then if you trace that line along to the right, you can see the floating skull of his horse that must be being held by someone that we can't see. You can see that. And well, of course you can notice that all these guys are fighting around this the Grail reliquae, as we now know that is. We can see they're kind of got like monk haircuts, a lot of them, and well, we don't recognise this unit basically. It's not one of the men-at-arms units that the Bretonnians currently have. Okay, so now we know at least the Grail reliquae is a unit, and perhaps we can get Grail pilgrims as a unit on their own as well, which are basically guys that follow around Grail Knights and kind of like act as their like unofficial hitmen basically. Grail pilgrims is a term to describe those deranged and suicidal fanatics dedicated solely to the service of a Grail Knight of the Kingdom of Bretonnia, and whose only goal in life is to bask in the reflected glory of these mighty individuals. Driven by relentless obsession, the pilgrims collect almost anything that a Grail Knight casts to wash, whether it be a scrape of ruined armour, clothing, or even discarded food. Such is their burning passion, these religious scavengers will follow their idol through all weathers and lands, exulting in his acts and praising his sparing words, like a little fan club. The knights bear these followers with a dutiful resignation that borders on the stoic, although they endeavour not to encourage their self-appointed apostles, so they're not necessarily something that the knight wants around. This is a vain hope, for even the merest word or gesture is seized upon as an act of great import, and eagerly immortalised in tales and discordant song. If the Grail Knight is unfortunate enough to fall in battle, his devoted followers will swarm over his corpse, picking it clean of anything that could bear the blessing of the lady. Okay, and then it goes on to explain what the Grail reliquae is. Often, peasants in the crowd will choose to join the ragtag band of pilgrims drawn by promises of salvation and the blessing of the lady. Others are drafted into the ranks through threats and near blackmail, generously being offered an opportunity to earn the redemption of the lady for crimes and misdeeds that are sometimes real, but more usually invented by the fanatical preachers who are ever eager to expand their flock through any means. Battle pilgrims are the fanatical worshippers of the knights from which they derive their namesake. So they worship Grail Knights, basically. Well, they're worshipping the Lady of the Lake, really, so I don't know if that's not quite true, but I guess they are worshipping them in inverted commas. They're worshipping the knights because they have the blessing of the lady. They are furious warriors, utterly dedicated to their patrons, a ramshackle band of zealots. Grail pilgrims make up for what they lack in skill with fury and righteous fire. I like the sound of that. So they're a lot like flagellants, let's be real, but they're the Bretonnian brand of flagellants. I just noticed, I think in this picture, which I'll put back on the screen now unless I'm an idiot, this guy has like taped his sword back together or like patched it together with leather or something. So there you go. I expect them to have very, very high morale, but not the best. They're not going to be armor piercing or anything. Not the best actual combat stats, but very high morale and immune to psychology or something. Maybe even unbreakable. Anyway, let's move on forward. They've already given us a image of Grail Knights. That's part of the Twitter leak. One of the things that the Twitter pics, one of those was a picture of some Grail Knights. I mean, that's kind of old news to us at this point, isn't it? Like, Grail Knights have been in the game for a while, although the Grail Knights are dismounted, so maybe that's some kind of clue there. But you know, I'm not ready to go out on a limb and put my balls on the line for that one. I'll show some other images up right now. I mean, we've got some standard knights just rolling through a village with the peasant in the background, a castle in the background. Now it'd be... Holy shit, they need to add a DLC of like good sieges. Like medieval Total War 2 style sieges where castles have like multiple levels to them that you have to knock down and stuff like that. And it's going to make the dwarves OP in the Grand Campaign, but you know, if you did it like accurately to the lore. But I mean, we can balance it out, just make it slightly more complicated than it is already, because it's stupid at the minute. They really oversimplified sieges, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And here we have the Fay Enchantress, looking good, looking pretty fine, if you ask me. She's got this little what's it called? Tiara, and some flowers in her hair and shit, looking pretty wood elven, I must add. Looking very Aryan as well. She's got some ball of light that she's enjoying there, and yeah. Wait a minute, she looks like she might know the lore of life, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they've put the flowers in her hair, they've put the green light kind of coming from her hand. Basically a conspiracy theory at this point, but maybe she knows the lore of life. That would be very cool though, because you could re-heal your Grail Knights. That would be very nice. The healing spells are a lot better on things that have low unit model counts, but high HP, so that you can get in before any of the models actually fall and then heal them back to full HP. So that could be pretty tasty. And now I'm going to be adding a couple more that I'm not getting from the pictures, so I have no evidence to back this up, but like, it just makes sense for like the whole scheme of things for them to add these things in. Alright, so here we have the Knight Errant. A Knight Errant are those young sons of Bretonnian nobility whom have yet to prove themselves worthy to become an honoured and fully fledged Knight of the Realm. Knights of the Realm were like the bread and butter standard knight that's just like, yeah, you're a knight, mate, you're doing good, but you're not like a famous crazy knight that's done loads of crazy shit. Like you haven't earned the blessing of the lady yet, but you're a crack soldier, yeah, but you're not a god like a Grail Knight is. But anyway, a Knight Errant is basically a squire that's kind of like aiming to become a knight, like a young, promising youth. A teenage knight who's going out and trying to prove himself. You'll be able to spot if you're playing against a minor, because he'll take lots of Knights Errant, because he'll identify with their struggle. But anyway, yeah, so a Knights Errant, these deeds are known as errands, so he's going out and he's going on little mini quests for the young boy. Some earn status through faithful service to their lords, others through powerful connections and family ties. So the rich kids can still, you know, swing their way in. Well, the more richer kids than the the rest of the nobility, because all of these are nobles. If you're a peasant, you're not going to become a knight. I'm sure there's like a couple instances of that from history or something, when the Lady of the Lake has blessed a peasant or something, and so they've had to make him a knight. But yeah, don't get it twisted, bitch. But the most glorious and true way for a young knight to fulfill his calling is to test himself against a foe on the field of battle. So they're going to be running around and trying to fight people and prove that they can kill people to become a knight, basically, or just serving their lords and stuff like that. These deeds are known as errands, and it is a requirement for a young knight to finish his errand before he may be accepted into the higher echelons of Bretonnian nobility. Knights of the Empire start their careers following after some other knight, acting as nothing more than a servant. Knights errant are expected to travel widely, often alone, seeking out perilous situations in which to prove their worth. As a result, they can be found anywhere in the old world, perhaps to the regret of the natives. Right, so they're not quite a squire. They're like a questing knight, but like mini level young people. So I think we can expect these to be like a cheaper, shitter version of knights with lower morale. So yeah, they're basically just decaf knights that are cheaper, and you're gonna chuck these in for a bit of extra cavalry power. Although, depending on their cost effectiveness, they may be a really, really swell unit. This could be another thing that turns Bretonnia into a proper cavalry faction as well, because if you have these really cost-effective, good knights, then you can actually field cavalry-heavy armies without just destroying your income on campaign level, but also destroying your budget on the online level. It says here, Knight-errant project an air of bravado in everyday situations, dealing with peasants and fellow knights alike with brash self-confidence and haughty manner. They're enthusiastic to the point of recklessness. They are renowned for answering any and all call to arms whenever it is sounded. They're first in the line for any charge and the last to retreat. I don't know if I believe that. Like, just a guy who wants to be a knight versus like a battle-hardened veteran. So maybe they're just kind of hamming it up. All the Warhammer descriptions of things tend to kind of ham things up and make everything seem like it's the best thing. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. But they are kind of alluding to the fact that they might have high morale as well, so that could be a thing. They're going to have higher morale than your average, just shitty like footman unit in the game. But I'm not sure if they'll have higher morale than the knights. We'll see. Okay, so following on from the Knights Errant, we have the Questing Knight. This is someone who has already gone through their session as the Knights Errant, and they've become a Knight of the Realm, which is the standard knight, and now they want to level up to a Grail Knight, and so they become a Questing Knight. And to become a Questing Knight, they have to relinquish all their lands and titles and everything, basically, and even set down their lance, because it's the symbol of duty. And then they will go around looking for the Grail, the Holy Grail, and trying to find the lady so that she will bless them. And they'll try and like do different good deeds and shit, and go through different trials in order to finally gain the notice of the lady. Notice me, senpai, they say. And eventually she'll appear and let them drink from the Holy Grail. Finally, they will become the ultimate warrior and the holy guardian known by all as the Grail Knight. Now, what is this going to mean on the battle map? I hear you squeal in anguish. Basically, they tend to favour great weapons in the lore, so I think this is going to mean they should be a level above the Knights of the Realm in general combat stats, but they shouldn't be shock cavalry, I think. I think because they're going to have great weapons and not lances, as they specifically set down the lances as the symbol of duty. Because this is the symbol of duty in the sense of protecting the land that they were given. It's not like they don't give a shit about anything anymore. It's like their duty becomes finding the Grail, and they kind of just say fuck everything else. That kind of symbolises that. So I reckon armour piercing. because of the great weapons, and also they should have higher morale and just general combat stats than your bread and butter knights. They're the next level up. And then we will have Grail knights right at the end with the magical damage and yada yada. Alright, so I think that's as much as I can squeeze out of this without going into the realms of implausibility. So that's put some more fucking videos on my lore list to make, and next vid should probably be out tomorrow on that. And yeah, Merry Christmas, boys, and have a Happy New Year. So, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and comment any suggestions for lore vids in the future, although they're going to go to the back of a considerable queue at the minute because I have about, well, it's only like 2 videos that I have in the pipeline that I definitely know I need to cover lore-wise, but there's going to be other things around Bretonnia that I should probably cover as well, so there you go. But anyway, thank you. Glory to you all. Goodbye.